What is deaf culture? Deaf culture describes the social beliefs, behaviors, art, literary traditions, history, values, and shape institutions of communities that are affected by deafness or are hard of hearing and which use sign language as the main means of communication.
Deaf culture. You already have your language, sign language.
Deaf culture?
Deaf culture means that there's a group of deaf people who sign and live together. Hearing people use speech, that's their language in their culture. You're already involved in deaf culture because your parents are deaf, and we all sign together.
American Sign Language is a way to unify the deaf community and represent deaf culture. As seen in the previous video, the documentary Sound and Fury, American Sign Language brings people together of all different ethnicities, backgrounds, and states.
Learning ASL has many benefits, one of them being part of a close-knit community that always supports and encourages ASL. Even though there are many people against ASL, there is still a group defending the language. A language that defines our culture, a culture that has been passed down from generation to generation. American Sign Language defines deaf culture. As seen in the documentary, deaf culture is something that should be preserved through the use of ASL.
Today, when parents find out their child is deaf, they don't know what to do with the child, and they just force an implant on them.
These parents are selfish.
My opinion is if you're born deaf, that's it.
You're right. I agree with you. Now you're all gonna come after me. We have decided to give our son, Peter, a cochlear implant. I want to give my son opportunities to live in both worlds.
You feel that deaf people are inferior.
That's right.
So you want to implant your child in the hope that he will have a chance in the future. Is that what you're thinking?
It's not because we think deaf people are limited. It's because the world's view of deaf people makes things more difficult for them.
Well, look at me. I work for the New York Times. I've been a supervisor of 25 hearing people for the past 5 years, and I am deaf.
In the documentary, the deaf community has come together and are discussing whether or not a family should implant their child with a cochlear implant. The deaf community protested against the cochlear implant and argued for the protection and preservation of their language and culture. The deaf community feels passionate about anything that they feel takes away from their deaf identity and that may result in the loss of ASL.
American Sign Language is an essential part of their culture. ASL brings the deaf community together at events such as storytelling for children, coffee chats, and comedy shows. At these events, they use ASL as the standard form of communication and as a way of bonding with people who share a common interest.
Deaf culture was never really understood or valued before. Now, more and more people, including hearing people, have become interested in deaf culture and have tried to learn American Sign Language and how deaf and hard of hearing people live their lives. In the video, Sound and Fury, the deaf community were afraid that their culture would die out and become a thing of the past. But with all the different forms of media nowadays, it has become easier to spread information about the deaf and hard of hearing community. Instead of looking down on deaf culture, people admire and value it.